Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. It's Tori. Today I am going to be ranking every fantasy trilogy slash series that I have finished up until this point. Alright, so we're going to do a little housekeeping before I get into this, because it's important. First of all, there are unfinished series on this list. This is just a list of everything that I have finished, everything that is currently published and available within the fantasy series. I know that some people will probably take some umbrage with my list, and that is okay, because this is a purely subjective list. This is what I enjoy as a reader, and that is how I ranked these series. Up till now, I have finished 11 adult fantasy trilogies slash series, what's available in them, and I know that this next year and beyond, I'm going to be reading a lot of my new favorites. So I really wanted to have this video for posterity as I start expanding to a ton more series. I'm excited to see what happens in the future and what series take over this list and get fit in wherever. Coming in at number 11 is the Shattered Sea trilogy by Joe Abercrombie. This trilogy really kind of introduced me to Joe Abercrombie's writing. I have not read The First Law yet. This was kind of whet my appetite for The First Law and get a chance to see what Joe Abercrombie's writing was like. I absolutely loved Half a King, which is the first book in this trilogy. I loved it so much. I liked the second book. I really did not like the third book at all, which is why this series ended up on the bottom of my list, is just because of book 3, which was so disappointing because Half a King, amazing. Absolutely loved it, and I am really excited to read the First Law trilogy because of Half a King. Coming in at number 10 is a series that I read that I don't see a lot of people talking about on BookTube, and that is Dragon Slayer by Duncan M. Hamilton. This is a trilogy that follows the main character Gil, who's a has-been warrior. The world feels like it came straight out of the French Three Musketeers kind of vibe. It's a book that I would highly recommend for people who really enjoy classics because it has that kind of classic feel. There are dragons. It's honestly a really fun read. That being said, this was another one where the end of the trilogy really kind of went downhill for me. I still really enjoyed it. It's a great read. The third book I felt like kind of dipped at the end, and that made me really sad. So that is why this one is in number 10. Coming in at number 9, I have the Rhyuria Revelations by Michael J. Sullivan. Now, originally this was separated into 6 smaller novels, and now I have the 3 omnibus editions that contain 2 novels each. Opposite of what happened in the trilogies of 11 and 10, this one started really slow. I read the first book a while ago and wasn't going to continue. Then I saw Patrick Leo's video talking about how the series really got so much better in book 2, so I decided to give it another chance, and I'm really glad I did, to be honest. We have a great bromance in this trilogy with Royce and Hadrian. This one definitely has a more classic fantasy-esque feel as well, but definitely with very modern, accessible prose. Loved the bromance. There's a little bit of kind of heisty, like thievery kind of stuff that goes on, and our 2 miscreant bromance boys kind of become heroes without intending to, which is something that I enjoy. I love a reluctant hero, and I love a bromance, so those were things that I really enjoyed about this series. Coming in at number 8, I have The Book of the Ancestor by Mark Lawrence. This is another trilogy, and this one details a main character named Nona, who's a young girl who has magical abilities that are quite intense, put it lightly. Nona ends up in a convent that trains warrior nuns. It's very much a magic school book done very right. I really appreciated that. Young protagonist, there's a ton of great action, there's a ton of really good character interaction and relationships within this trilogy. I really enjoyed that a lot. I wasn't really pulled into the characters as much as I wanted to be in books 2 and 3. However, I will still say that I really enjoyed enjoyed this trilogy, and especially book 1, and I loved Nona for the most part as a main character. Coming in at number 7, I have Faithful and the Fallen by John Gwynne. This is a 4-book series, and it is his debut series, and this one is British Isles inspired world. This book is a very clear chosen one trope. It is a book that has a very clear line of good versus evil. It has a classic fantasy vibe, but written in a very modern style. This book I enjoyed. I binged it. I read all 4 books in, I think, less than 2 months. Really enjoyed the experience for the most part. There were some character arcs that really frustrated me, and there were some plot elements that really didn't work for me in this series. That being said, I absolutely loved several of the characters throughout this series, and they really got deep into my heart, and I cared so much about what was happening to them. So overall, very bingeable series. If you're looking for a bingeable fantasy series, this one right here. Number 6 is The Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson. Now, I'm going to caveat heavily this bit. I absolutely love Way of Kings and Words of Radiance. Absolutely love them. The first 2 books in this series are phenomenal, in my opinion. Book 3 was when I started to have some frustrations and questions with the series, and when Rhythm of War came out. Rhythm of War really put me off of this series, and I am definitely going to be reading the 5th book of this arc to see how he's going to finish it, because there's a lot going on. But the investment that I have in the story as a whole has dropped off considerably since the second half of Oathbringer / Rhythm of War. I fully expect Sanderson to give us a incredible ending to this series. That's what I'm expecting. If that's the case, this will probably move up the ranks. Number 5 is another Sanderson set, and that is Mistborn Era 1. As with so many other people, this was my gateway series into adult fantasy. It was one of the first that I ever read. I also binged this trilogy. I think this is just such a classic gateway fantasy trilogy. It's going to appeal to just such a wide range of fantasy readers, in my opinion, and people coming into the genre who don't have as much experience with it. I love so many of the side characters in this. I'm not gonna lie, I couldn't care less for Vin and Ellen's romance. The atmosphere, the world, the heist, a lot of the side characters, and a lot of the themes that Sanderson managed to sneak into this trilogy really worked for me when I read it, and these are still books that I would reread and really enjoy. Number 4 is the Farseer trilogy by Robin Hobb. This is the first trilogy in her realm of the Elderlings, and this is the only trilogy of hers that I have finished. I am really looking forward to reading the Live Ship Traders. I have had so many people tell me that I'm going to love it. I fully anticipate loving it. Robin Hobb is one of those authors that it isn't what I would immediately reach for, just as in terms of her writing style. Robin Hobb is an endgame writer, which means that by the time you get to the end of this series, trilogy, you will care so much. If it works for you, you will care so much about these characters. I was so emotionally attached to these characters that just because her prose and style of writing is something that I have to work a little bit more at, it didn't matter. The character work and the end game, she is a long game writer, and man is she good at it. She's so good at character relationships. She is so good at kind of just dropping you in a world, and then you kind of forget that you're in a fantasy world for a while. Excellent writer. I'm really looking forward to continuing with the Live Ship Traders soon. But yeah, Robin Hobb is a queen, and she's amazing, and definitely give her books a shot if you haven't yet. Number 3 is A Song of Ice and Fire by George R.R. Martin. This series I read quite a long time ago. I've seen all of the show, everything except for House of the Dragon. I really struggled with where to place this series because the authenticity of the world that George R.R. Martin created in this series is so real. It's so real. And it has that gritty atmosphere that I absolutely love, that you're going to see in my top choices. Martin is a absolute master of interweaving so many different like character and story arcs, and you care about all of them for the most part so much. Like, I can name so many characters in this series that I was incredibly invested in and really loved. Martin knows how to give you an emotional gut punch. I will say that for this man. Like, I was emotionally gut punched so many times by this series. And I would love to do a video at some point of my favorite characters from A Song of Ice and Fire, so that's later on. But anyways, number 3, A Song of Ice and Fire. All right, we're in my top 2, and anybody who knows me and has been around my channel for more than 2 seconds probably is not going to be shocked by either of these. You all know how much I love these 2 series. These are just archetype series for me subjectively as a reader. I love the way they're written. I love the characters. I love the style, the themes, all of it. Number 2 is The Gentleman Bastards by Scott Lynch. This first book blew my mind when I read it. It was everything I was looking for in a fantasy novel. I love this book so much. It is a comfort read for me. I love it so much. I don't know what that says about me, but love this book. I loved number 2. I know a lot of people are kind of 50-50 on Red Seas Under Red Skies. I personally love it. It's Locke and Jean as pirates. It's literally Lies of Locke Lamora meets Pirates of the Caribbean, kind of, without all the dead people. Undead people? That was a horrible pitch. But I love this series. It has so much heart. That the world building is very beautiful, very unique. It has a kind of Spanish/Venetian kind of feel to it. It has the motley crew of boys. This is basically the grimdark version of Oliver Twist, and I absolutely love that. Except the main character is the Artful Dodger instead of being Oliver Twist. The only reason that it is not in first place is because I did not give all 3 books 5 stars. The third book, like, I had some things that I didn't absolutely love about it. It was my least favorite of the 3, so I gave that one 4 stars instead of 5 stars like I gave the other 2, which is why it is in second place and not first. And finally, I'm wearing the beanie, guys. This is gonna shock everyone, I'm sure. My favorite, the comfort read of comfort reads, the book that I have read probably the most times of any fantasy book ever, is Red Rising by Pierce Brown. This book gets a bad rap, honestly, a lot, because a lot of people say, kind of just dismiss it as being just like the Hunger Games, which I don't know what Hunger Games you guys saw. Like, I get it, but also this is just so much darker. It has so much like Greek and ancient Roman and Greek history like pulled into the world building. It's in space, and all of the things. There's more of a, I would say, class system represented in this book. One of the main reasons why this trilogy is at the top for me is, first of all, as a whole, the 3 books of Era 1 together, it is one of the most satisfying through lines of a trilogy series I have ever read in my life. The ending is perfect. It's so beautiful. I wouldn't change a thing about it. I love it, love it, love it so much. One of my favorite things about it, outside of the motley crew and the bromance and all of the things that are like my favorites, there's a theme of loyalty and sacrificial love in this trilogy that every time I read it just grabs me by the heartstrings, and I love it. I love it so, so, so much. The characters in this are brilliant. The way he writes women, I love. The way he writes friendships, the way he writes lost friendships, enemies, villains. Like, he's just so good at the characters. And then the world building, every book has something unique, new. It expands the world a little bit more in a way that's not too much and it's not too little. For me personally, it's everything I could ever want in a fantasy series. All right, guys, now that I have ranked every series / trilogy I have read in adult fantasy, I want to know down in the comments below, what's your favorite? What's your least favorite? What's your favorite one you've read in 2022? However you want to do it, just let me know what you're ranking. If you want to rank the series that I just did in this video, go do that in the comments as well. I'm really excited to see how this list changes in the future and what new series I'm gonna fall madly in love with in the next year, I'm sure. I kind of know which ones are coming for me, and I'm so excited. I hope y'all are having a fabulous week. I hope that you are having 5-star reads. If you're celebrating Christmas this week, have a Merry Christmas and God bless, and I will see you in the next video.